right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Travis Hearn podcast show. It really isn't my podcast. It's always the podcast of the guests that I host and am honored to host. And today, it is going to be so much fun. I have a guy who goes to Impact Church. We met through our church. He loves the Lord. He is one of the most notable drummers on the planet. Okay, watch this. He's performed for recording artists such as Madonna, Elton John, Stevie Wonder, George Michael, the Jacksons, and last but not least, the king of pop, Michael Jackson. And so listen, it is good today to have my friend Jonathan Sugarfoot. We're just going to call you Sugarfoot, you know?
That's fine. That's fine.
It's good to have you, Suge. Man, thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm having a good time already. We haven't got going yet.
We haven't even got going yet. I'm excited. I'm really excited. Thank you for saying yes to this. And I have just a plethora of questions. I'm first of all a fan. Mm-hmm. Like when I found out, you know, hey, Michael Jackson's drummer is going to Impact Church. I'm like, nah, you guys got it confused. And then sure enough, you know, I'm meeting you in the middle of our worship center, mm-hmm. and just man, you don't change. You look incredible. I wanted to start with just maybe your childhood. You have been, you know, I would say you're the human metronome. You know, I would say the metronome learns how to keep a beat from Sugarfoot. like you are legit, man, and toured. I mean, we're gonna get into this for decades and decades with Michael. But you know, tell us about your childhood, where you grow up. How'd you get into drumming?
Well, I was born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I'm the youngest son of my mother's and father's 4 children. And how I got into this, I started drums and drumming at 6 years old. My father worked at the post office as a supervisor. One of his friends had kids that was into music. And so my father was talking about how to keep his kids out of trouble. So his friend said, well, I got my kids into music. So it'd be a good way to keep them off the streets and practicing the music and doing music. Yeah. So my father said, great idea. He came home one afternoon after work and called us all together in the kitchen by the refrigerator. I'm standing by the refrigerator and everybody gathered together. He said, how would you guys like to play music? We said, yeah, let's do it. We knew what music was. And he said, well, each one of you have to pick which instrument you want to play. And so that's when I was the third youngest, and my brothers were older. And I said, okay, I want to play guitar. Guitars are cool. Yeah. And they look cool, they get up front. And so I was ready to choose guitar. So my oldest brother, he said, his name was Orrin. He said, Orrin, which instrument you want to play? And Orrin said, I want to play bass, and I want to be a bass player. And I said, oh, man, that's the one I wanted. You know, and so I said, man. He said, then my second brother said, I want to play guitar. And I said, man, I was going to get that. That was the next one. And he said, only other thing I knew was drums. And he said, Jonathan, which one do you want to play? I said, guitar. And he said, well, we can't have all guitars in the family. You got to pick something different. And I said, all right, I'll play drums. I just got stuck with drums, so to speak.
That's crazy.
It turned out to be a great blessing for me.
Turned out to be a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, were you taught? Did you self-teach? Like, how did you learn? Because like you're like good, like next level good. Like the best, I guess the best live drummer in pop music, probably in the history of pop music. Right? I mean,
I don't know. I don't judge myself.
well, that's what the word is on the street. How did you learn how to play drums?
Well, my father bought me a marching drum, big Ludwig marching drum at first. He said, to learn drums, there's so many parts, elements, let's start with the snare drum. And so in elementary school and junior high school, I had it in school, in the concert bands. You know, I tried to do marching. I was very small for my size and stature for my age. I was 6. And the drum was bigger than me. So when they tried to do it for my first parade, the drum was rolling all over me, and I couldn't control it. So they had a little kid, the band leader, in a parade now. He had a kid out of the audience come over and walk backwards in front of me, holding the drum so I could play it right. Oh, wow. Because I'm chasing it with the sticks trying to find it because I was so small and it's bigger than me. But anyway, I had my only experience. He said, he took the drum away and said, you can't do this. He's too small. So he put me in the concert band. That was junior high school. Senior high, 1 year senior high school. I learned snare drum in rudiments. On the drum set, it was 100% inspirational from the people that I heard on records. I had no
Mm.
teacher, drum teacher in my neighborhood, nobody around to teach me. And how I got my kit, first kit was I had that one snare drum. And my father, the next birthday, seventh birthday, he bought a bass drum and a cymbal and a crash, like a crash cymbal. So I learned to play the snare drum, bass drum, and just ride on that crash cymbal as a kid. Then the next birthday, he got me 2 rack toms. So each birthday, I got subsequent birthday, I got another portion of the kit, and each time I got a year to study incorporating that portion of the kit, and I got a hi hat at the time, so I can open and close that and play grooves. And then the next birthday, eighth birthday, I got a floor tom. So
Mm.
little by little, it was staging and building the kit. I had a year to develop into it, but as far as learning it, I would put that needle back in those days in the 60s and stuff. I had to get up and put the needle down there, run to the drums and jump on and try to learn and memory. Everything was memory because I don't read. Right to this day, I don't read music. I can't write
Wow.
music. So it's all memory. And I would give the credit to my strength of desire to conquer something. And because I loved it. Once I learned I could do with 2 arms patterns that were contradictory to one another and make sense out of it instead of being racket, it turned into patterns that people could understand, rudiments and patterns, rhythms. And I realized I can master something. It's great inspiration when
Yeah.
you realize you can conquer something or learn something and master it and actually control your limbs to just going to do what I want you to do, that kind of thing.
Yes.
So I felt great gratification in first and a sense of power of self-being. I can do something, in other words.
Yeah.
So I started wanting more. That I got hungry for that. So I started learning little by little how to do the different parts of the body and for coordination. And I got more excited. And I listened to records like everybody did back then, all the top records and stuff. And I heard the drummer. And once I did at 8, 9 years old, I started doing block parties, dances, talent shows in New Orleans. In my brother's band, we had a band called the Cavaliers. But I was still young. So we started doing those things, and I started listening to more diversity of music and learning it. And they started saying, "You're pretty good, little guy." And about 10 years old, we got an offer to play in a nightclub there. Now, at 10 years old, you're not supposed to be in a nightclub. But
Right.
New Orleans is kind of loose. So my mother and father said, "Well, as long as he doesn't go by the bar, and keep the ladies off of him." Yeah. And so they would sneak me in the back door. The first club I did, they snuck me in the back door. They helped me set up. And I did the gigs that we call the gigs. And then they gave me some drum solos and stuff. And it was like exciting for me.
Yeah.
And now all these older people in the club, and I was like 10 years old playing for it. They were marveling how this kid can play master drums at that age and do it with a band. So when we finished, they helped me tear down. We got back in the car, loaded everything up, and my parents said, "As long as you can do this, as long as you guys get up for school, 5 o'clock. We finished at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
At the hour two.
Yeah.
Live seriously, that's how it was. And get up at 5, 6 o'clock, get ready for school. And as long as it doesn't interfere with that, you can do it." So we got in the car from that first nightclub, and they hand me a $5 bill. And I'm like, "What is this for?" And they said, "You get paid for doing this." I said, "You get paid for doing this?" And I said, "I want to do this the rest of my life." That statement that night determined where I'm at now in front of you.
Wow.
And I said, "I'm going to buy me some candy tomorrow."
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that started me off. And I can do things and accomplish things and make money. And I'm still doing what God assigned me to do.
Yeah, you've been talking a lot about that, and we're gonna have some fun and dig in. I want to talk about Michael Jackson. I want to talk about the Madonna tours. I want to talk about your relationship to Mike. I want to talk about all that, and we'll get to that. But you just said something about God and the gift of God, and you talk all the time, and you've told me like God has given me this gift. God has given me this gift. And I'm thinking like you started playing it 6 years old and started piecing a kit together at like every birthday. But then at 10, you're pretty good.
Yes.
I mean, within 4 years, like that's a gift.
Well, that shows it's not just me. It's not me.
Yeah.
And the seed was planted for a purpose, for me to have a purpose.
Amen.
And to spread the spirit and also enlighten men and mankind, I should say, what's possible in a human being.
Yeah.
And I always felt, from that point on of my life, I felt still like an umbilical cord to heaven, to God. I've always felt that for real. and I always stay close to that.
Yeah.
Never want to never self it, never wanted to,
Yeah.
because that's where all the gifts that I have and how I express, and people marvel at what I do. When I play, people say, "Why your eyes look so mad?" And so, but I'm channeling inside. And like I told you, I get out of the way and I let God play. But that's where I channel. You focus and concentrate on something, and it's internal. They hear the external, but I focus on the internal, and I'm expressing the feeling of the soul, the depth of soul, that where God lives.
Yes.
So I express that when you hear me play.
That makes sense, because when I watch you play, you're locked in.
Yes.
Your face, your eyes, you're locked in.
Yeah, that's where the mastery comes from.
Yeah.
That connection. So I always say a prayer before I play and ask God to play for me.
That's awesome.
And that's what you experience when you hear me play. And it's been that way since not since the 10 years old. I didn't understand, not have the really understanding of everything, but I felt it. I felt these things, which gravitated me toward the spiritual learning of that.
Yes.
And that's why my life has been blessed. I believe all my life in
Amen.
these kind of ways. You know?
Well, I think that would be a great model for any of us today. Colossians chapter 3, verse 23 in the Bible, it says, "Whatever you do, do it with all your heart as working for the Lord." Mm-hmm. You know, it's for you. You're a legendary drummer, you know, but it started out as a 6-year-old drummer. Mm-hmm. But you know, as you grow, but whether we own a business, CEOs, whether we're doctors, nurses, pastors, like whatever, like let God take over.
Yes.
Like, I'm doing this for you. Like,
let him play.
Yeah, let him play. Let him play. Give him glory. Mm-hmm. Take us for a minute. You know, I know you grew up in New Orleans, which is like, I mean, I feel like to rise to the top in a city that is like everybody's a musician.
Yeah.
Right?
It's true.
It's almost like Nashville. True. Like, you're like everybody's, how do you rise above everybody? Everybody does it. It feels like really like God really had his hand chosen. You know, you were chosen by God to do what you do. How did you even get with the Jacksons? I mean, how did that even come about?
A miracle. Yeah. Now you're going to really believe in God. I know you do already, but the people that's listening, if you don't already, and you don't think miracles are real, my life and story is a real miracle.
Yeah.
Let's see, how can I begin this? There's a gentleman that's lived one block from my mother's house in New Orleans, and he played in a rival band named, my band, I was in several bands in New Orleans, and my brothers and them had to kick me out of the Cavaliers because there was other popular clubs that wouldn't let a little boy, 10-year-old boy play. So I was despondent. I joined another band, and everybody had nicknames, and they gave me the nickname Sugarfoot.
Okay.
But there's rival bands in the city all over the place. And
so that nickname goes back to when you were a little boy?
That was in the '66.
That's crazy.
I got that nickname from a guy named Curtis Verrett. When I went to the audition for his band, and I played, and he heard for some reason in New Orleans, I told you, let's go back. I wanted to be a bass player, right?
Yeah.
Okay, since I was involved in the bass player, what they have on a drum set that replicate the bass drum. So what I would do when I learned these songs, especially Motown songs, and they had a bass player was incredible, James Jamerson, really good with fast with his fingers, and he can play all these patterns. I would listen to the groove of those Motown songs and hear the drums and the bass drum, but also something was magic about how the bass drum worked with the bass player's part. Mm-hmm. I would learn both the bass player's part on my foot as well as the bass drum part, and I would combine them. So it gave me the ability to have a very, very fluent, fast foot. Real quick and articulate, and I can make expressions and melodies and stuff with one foot. And most guys have to have 2 feet to do it. That was my focus. And in New Orleans, most drummers grow up from the bottom up, so to speak, the bass drum. We thrive off of that, and it sets our groove.
Yeah.
And I just took it to another level because I was hearing things of a combination of the bass and the drums. So I learned how to play like the bass player parts and mine together. So when I auditioned for this band, they heard my bass drum work, and they said, "Whoa, his foot is fast, it's sweet." And then the music director said, "Yeah, he got that sweet foot." You know, so that's when they said, "Well, look, if you're going to be in the band, everybody has nicknames." And I'm thinking, nicknames are cool. I want to be like Thor, Duke, like John Wayne. I'm going to be like Duke. Okay, I'm ready. Call me Thor. I was one of the Marvel comic guys. And, yeah, I'm ready. Or something suave. I'm ready. Yeah, he's one. And they said, I know what I call you, and I'm ready for it. They said, we call you Sugarfoot. I said, Sugarfoot, I don't want that. I did. I said, I don't want that. I'm not answering to that. They all laughed. They said, no, you Sugarfoot. Because every time we do a gig at the club, I'm not going to say Jonathan Moffett. I'm going to say Sugarfoot. That's all they're going to know you as. And
great.
And like a little boy, I said, oh, man.
Like, man.
I was stuck. So it stuck with me. I hated it. But everywhere I would do gigs at the clubs, and they announced me, everybody on the streets, hey, Sugarfoot, hey, Sugarfoot. And I turned my head, I'm not going to answer to that. But then I realized it stuck so much, I had to start acknowledging it.
Yeah.
And it carried forward out to California. And people started knowing who I was then by some people that left New Orleans and went. And so one of our singers for one of the bands I was with, he moved to California. Jermaine Jackson heard me on a tape of our band at a club. And he asked that singer who was from New Orleans, can you get him out here? And that was in like 78.
So was the audition, was it an audition or?
No, that's the divine part.
Wow.
I went out to this California from New Orleans, drove out 3,200 miles or something. So oof. Yes, on a chance to work with Jermaine.
In cars the way cars used to be
back in the day. Yeah, exactly, man. And I drove out there with the band. In fact, this whole band had driven out there in early 78, and the guys had conflict, and we wanted to let's go back home. And then that's when 2 months later, when we got back home, the singer he lived out there. He said, Jermaine wants to use you on something project he's working on. Yeah. Well, do you want to come back out? And I said, yeah, I'll come back out. I'll come back out. So he said, so he helped me get back out there. So
wait. Hold on. I gotta jump in. Mm-hmm. Like Jermaine Jackson, like heard you and got a hold of you.
He threw my friend.
But through your friend, but like you had to have been like, this is crazy.
I didn't believe it at first.
Yeah.
I said, no, it's serious. He wants to put something together. He wants you to be a part of it. He loved your playing on these tapes from the clubs.
Wow.
So, but he was this guy, AJ, who helped me get out to California, and I stayed with him at his house. So, go back to the guy that lives down the block from my mother's home. His name is James McField. We were very close friends, even though we had rival bands. His band was Soul Incorporated. My band was Stop Incorporated. So, but we competed in clubs all over the place, but we stayed friends. When most musicians like rival, they don't like each other. Mm-hmm. But we were very close. And as I mentioned, he lived about a block down from my mother's house and would always come ring the bell. He left New Orleans and got with the Jacksons as the musical director. So in 75. So he would come out each year. They played there and offer me tickets to the show at the Municipal Auditorium Arena. And I go to the arena and stuff. And then he would come say, Sugarfoot, you need to come out to California. You would do good out there. And that's before the opportunity for the Jacksons came out, a few years before. And he gave me his address and his phone number. He said, call me. You need to come on out, and I'll introduce you around. And so the Jacksons had their cousin playing drums who started with the Jackson 5, so there was no thought whatsoever of that possibility.
Yeah.
So when I got out to California, moving back fast forward, Jermaine brought me out. Irony now. Jermaine brought me out there. And I got out there and looking around, and I got opportunities from 2 other major recording artists to join them. New Verse is a band that had records, and they had hit records. And then Undisputed Truth was another recording artist, very popular at the time. I passed on those. About a week or so later, my friend who I was staying with, it's kind of a long story, I hope you don't mind.
Yeah.
The friend who was staying with sent me to the airport to get this bass player friend of ours that was playing in town. Now, I'm new there. I don't know where I'm going. So he gave me the directions. I got on the freeway, went to the airport, picked up Lawrence, and we driving back home. We excited to see each other. We talking and laughing. I'm not paying attention. Miracle part about to happen. I'd been looking for my friend James, who I told you wrote his number out and gave me the phone number. I forgot the paper in New Orleans. All I knew was the name of the street, Normandy Avenue.
Oh, no.
I just knew Normandy Avenue. I'm driving for a month and a half all around the San Fernando Valley. I asked him, you know what Normandy Avenue is? Normandy Avenue? Man. And I couldn't find it. So we're on the freeway, Lawrence and I, coming back, and we're talking, laughing. I say, wait a minute, Lawrence. Grabbed his arm and say, I don't recognize nothing. I don't know where we are. I don't know how to get back to the house. And I don't have the phone number. And he said, what, you serious? I said, yes, I'm driving. Turns out I was in the wrong lane. Instead of going straight on that freeway, I curved off on the Santa Monica freeway, was going toward downtown. I knew nothing about that area. I said, we're lost. I don't know how to get back home. And he said, this is crazy. Looked up, the sign says Normandy Avenue.
No way.
Right
No way.
there,
No
quarter
way.
mile away from where I was. I said, Normandy Avenue. I was in the far left lane by the middle divider. I cut across like an L turn.
Wow.
Didn't even think to look in the next lane's over. Could have killed us both.
Yeah.
Crash. I said, if I pass it up, I'll never find it again.
Yeah.
I did like L turn, went to the exit, got off the exit. And I told you that a friend of mine lived from a block from my mother's house, James McField.
Yeah.
Got off the exit, pull up to the light. We sitting there. I said, man, I don't know where we are. I don't know how to get back home. He said, man, this is crazy. I said, but this is the street that James lives on. He knew James too. And I said, Normandy Avenue, but it looks like it runs for miles and miles. I don't know what house is in. You ready for a miracle?
Yep.
And I said, I'm going to turn left. And I said, you think I'll turn left? He said, no, turn right. It's good a way as any. I said, okay. I cut over and turn right. Pulled up to the first traffic light. We stand there. How are we gonna get home? And then he grabs my arm. He said, Jonathan, there's James McField on the payphone right there.
No way. Wow.
He had a big old afro
Wow.
at the time and a big mustache that grew out. I said, that's not James. He said, yes, it is. He put his head out the car and said, James McField. And that afro turned around and that was James.
That's crazy.
Of all the houses and all the miles of houses and blocks, God put James on that payphone.
Wow.
Right where I needed him to be to find him.
Yeah.
Didn't know what house he lived in. Didn't know how far I had to drive this way, how far I had to drive that way.
Yeah.
I would have went this way, and his house was in the middle of that block. I'd have passed it up because I didn't know the number.
Wow.
But God put him on that payphone because I guess you can say in a way, God made him not be able to pay his phone bill so he could be on that phone so I could find him. I apologize. But if he had his phone working at home, he never would have been out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was on that payphone to make that call.
Yeah.
And he turned on, he said, Sugarfoot, that's you. He said, pull into the middle of the block. Pull down here. We pulled out there, we parked. And we got out and he's so glad to see me. And we got inside, started talking. He said, I just got back from Trinidad. We played on the beach in the sand, the Jacksons.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a great show. We've been to Europe. We just got back from Europe and all these fantastic stories. I got built up inside. And I said, wait, James. I know you told me about getting me connected. I said, but if the Jacksons ever need a drummer, let me know. Because I know Johnny's their cousin. He said, John Sugarfoot, you won't believe this. They just fired his cousin.
Wow.
Because he was causing problems in Europe or something. And if auditioning drummers right now.
No way.
Now check this out. If I had passed that exit up, you wouldn't be talking to me right now.
Yeah.
If it was a different day and he wasn't on that payphone at that time, if I'd have passed there 2 minutes before you went to the payphone, you wouldn't be talking to me right now.
The timing.
If I'd passed there 2 minutes after he got off that phone and went home, you wouldn't be talking to me right now.
Right.
God made it such that I was at the exact time.
Right.
I pulled off that exit and pulled to that light, that intersection of our lives again. He was there when I needed him.
Incredible.
And to make all this happen, this interview wouldn't have happened.
Yes.
I'm here because of that.
Yes.
God's instance of God's favor. And he knew. But he knew what he was doing from the beginning when I was born, I believe, and when I first started playing drums. God had groomed me to be Michael's drummer.
Yeah.
The way we play together, work together is evident. Everybody says that. But he said, I'm auditioning tonight. We got one more drummer to audition tonight, and that's it. I said, that's it. He said, yeah, we've been auditioning 2 weeks. I said, they find anybody? He said, there's one guy they kind of like, but they're not sold on him. That's why we auditioned another guy tonight. I said, well, look. Tell them that the guy you've been telling about, because told me he had been telling about me.
Right.
He said, is in town, and all I asked for is a chance.
Right.
And so he said, oh, yeah, I'll tell him. I'll tell him to see if they would extend it today. Give me an opportunity. So he said, I'll tell him tonight at the audition. I said, and one more thing, favor I need from you. He said, what? He said, what do you need? Can you tell me how to get home? I don't know. It's in Woodland Hills, and that's the street. He said, he started laughing. He wrote it out, how to get the freeway. And once I got to that area, I knew where to go. Yeah. But I didn't know how to get to that area. And he said he did that for me. So I got there that night. He said, I'll call you tonight. And I'm pacing back and forth. And finally around 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night, I didn't call home and tell nobody nothing until, because I might not have got to gigs.
Right.
Until after I got to gigs. But anyway, I'm pacing, the phone ring, and he said, be at Mother's house tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock. They decided to extend it and give you a chance.
Wow.
Is that a miracle or what?
Wow.
And I went in there and played, and he liked me right away. and they played a few songs, and Tito and Randy was there, Jackie. Michael, it's a question mark whether Michael was there or not.
Okay.
Because I didn't see him.
Okay.
But in their studio, upstairs, there's a glass mirror window.
Okay.
And then I found out from the cousin that's where Michael be, because he's real extremely shy.
Yeah.
And I was new.
Yeah.
And they said he'd be behind. He said Michael was there. He said Sugarfoot Michael was there. He was in that behind that glass. You remember that glass up there?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's where he usually is. And that came. They said you're our drummer. You're our drummer that night. You're our drummer.
Did you when you walked into that house in that studio, and you're gonna play in front of all the Jacksons? I mean, were you nervous?
I was somewhat nervous, but I learned this even way earlier and younger. If you get nervous, you're gonna mess up.
yeah, right.
So
Tighten up, or
part of the playing ability is in self-control, and ability is the discipline of oneself. So I said, okay, you're nervous, but you can play. You gotta control that, because you know you're gonna mess up. You gotta do good.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have a way of internally, tightening myself up, spiritually, and not letting the excitement get overwhelm me.
Yeah.
So that won't happen. So I got serious. I knew the songs. I was a big Jackson fan anyway.
Yeah.
So they start calling out their songs, ABC, I Want You Back, Stop to Love You Save, and then the new ones, they call out this. They told me, all right, you got that song where Tito said, Sugarfoot, tell me this. You know how to play Shake Your Body Down to the Ground? That was the new hit. And I said, yeah, I know how to play that. And he said, what? He stood up. What? You know how to play that? I said, yeah, I know how to play that. Yeah, sure. He said, and he looked at the other brother, and they looking at each other, because none of the other drummers could play it. Because that track is the basic beat, kick, snare, and hat, simple.
Mm-hmm.
And they go back to the beginning of the song, and when it comes in, they overtrack, and you know what that is. Yeah. Most people don't know that. They go back in separate tracks, and they overdub the hi-hat part, that pattern. Yeah. Then they go back on another set of tracks, stereo tracks, and they overdub the tom parts. So it's three parts combined to make it sound like one time done, right? But it's three different recordings. I had learned, being ignorant of the fact, back in New Orleans, it was a top song. Every drummer had to learn that. Wanted to learn it. Yeah, I learned how to do it all at one time, because I couldn't see the guy doing it, but I know there's got to be a clearance of crossing patterns mechanically and technically to make it happen. I figured it out. So nothing stops in my method. Right. Other people do it, but the way they do it is switch hands and they lose out the hi-hat or something. Yeah. But I figured out how the mechanics of it, how to do it, and don't lose nothing. So Tito said, okay, we're going to play Shake Your Body Down. Yeah. He thought sure he had me, because it stumped all other drummers. But he didn't know, and they didn't know. At a session, I used to work at Alan Toussaint's studio, famous producer in New Orleans, and the producer there had me learn that song to steal a beat, basically, for a different artist he was producing. Yeah. And I told him, I can't do that. That's stealing. I was like homebred, wheat bread, our wheat bread spirit. Yeah. I said, I can't do that. That's stealing. And he said, no, just learn it. And everybody does it. I said, but I'll get in trouble. I was really, people, they call it square, but I said, I'll get in trouble for that. And they said, no, just learn it. So I said, oh man, what I'm going to do? And this is focusing on that session. So I said, okay, I know it. And so I started playing it, but I said, I got to change this up. I don't want to go to jail. I really believe that. I don't want to go to jail. And so I didn't do the hi-hat part right. I changed it up, and he stopped me. Stop. He said, Johnson, I thought you knew that beat, the producer. I said, I do know it. And he said, well, that pattern is not right. He said, play the right that you played before. I said, okay. And I played that part, but I changed the times up. Not to go to jail. I did, I swear to God. And then he stopped. No, cut. He said, Johnson, come in here for a minute. I said, I'm in trouble. Yeah. When then he said, no, play it. He played the song, and they played it. He said, play it like this. You know how to play it like this? You showed me before. I said, yeah, I do. He said, well, why are you playing it like that? I said, because I don't want to get in trouble. The whole studio lit up laughing at me. Wow. I said, what, get in trouble? What you mean? What you think ain't going to happen? I said, I think the police going to come arrest me and put me in jail. I was serious. Wow. I was that naive. Wow. He said, and they laughed. He said, I tell you, if the police come, tell them I told you to play the beat, I'll go to jail for you. I said, okay. And I went in there, played it like he said, yeah, that's it. Wow. And that's why I got it. Jackson didn't know I knew. That's how I learned it. Yeah. So I went there prepared. That was my prep. Had that session. So I played it for him, and they said, you're our drummer. Wow. And they were marveling and said, do it slow. And I showed them how to do it, and they were like shocked I could do it all that. He said, I didn't know that was three parts. And that's when they told me, that beat was 3-part overdub. I said, no, I heard the guy playing on the record. One part. He said, no, and they showed me what he did and how he did it. And I said, man, I can't believe that. Why you can't do it? I could do it. And they said, well, you're doing it, and nobody else who came in here could do it.
That's
And
crazy.
Tito said, you're our drummer.
Wow.
And that's how I got with the Jacksons. And he said, go talk to Joseph. Now, you saw Joseph in the film. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And so I had to go talk to him. And he said, my sons really like you. And said, in fact, you really look like one of my sons. Tell everybody you're Jackson. You know, and it was so cool. They welcomed me. And so
cool.
Mother came out and meet me. And she said, don't call me Miss Jackson. Call me Mother. That same afternoon. And I became like family.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and I was thinking how interesting it is because back, like when you were a kid versus what kids have today, because now kids can jump on iTunes or Spotify or YouTube, but like, were you playing to like vinyls?
Yes.
Yeah.
Vinyls, yes.
Yeah.
And then later on stages, and when cassettes got popular, those, you know.
Yeah.
But you can't, it's hard to rewind to get the exact spot. So I kept it with vinyls.
Right.
And if there was a part of a song that had the drum beat changed up and it was a little tricky or whatever, or I would miss the timing of it, I'd have to get off the drums, go back across the room, take the needle, prepare my running stance, drop the needle down, and you know, they got the silence while it's getting to it. I run to the drums, get on it, and get prepared to start.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. A million times.
That's crazy.
And even if I get the first intro part, then I mess up in the verse, the chorus says, oh man, I gotta do it again. I go back. But that prepared me on memorization of things and quick memory, I should say. And because I don't read, you know, I have to memorize everything.
Don't read music,
even with the Jacksons.
It's incredible.
I do.
So now you're with the Jacksons. So now you're touring with them. Yeah. You start going on tours. And
3 days later, I had 3 days to learn.
3 days later,
3 days to learn the first professional show of my life and career, and I don't read to write it out. Everything has to be memory.
So I have a question. Then, do most drummers that like would be like elite pop drummers, rock drummers, whatever, do they read music?
Most do.
Yeah.
There's some that incredible drummers, I mean, the legends of the industry that don't read. Buddy Rich didn't read.
Okay.
You know, at one time they say Billy Cobham didn't read that much. He's like super sensational.
Mm-hmm.
There's other drummers. One of my really good friends named James Gatz, and he just passed away last week. And he's one of the recording geniuses of drums. And they told me he didn't read. You know, there's several of them drummers. And Dennis Chambers, sensational drummer, unbelievable drummer, one of the ones we all look up to. Yeah. He didn't read. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know if he still doesn't, but that was his story. He doesn't read. So he's sensational. He's like a scientist on drums, unbelievable. So anyway, there's several of us like that still overcame that and got accepted in the industry, which most times they want you to read.
That's incredible.
But they like my feel.
Yeah.
They say your feel is a personality. That's your gift. We want that feel. Don't worry about reading. You know, I did a lot of records like that too in the studio. You got to learn it quick and because it's on the time clock.
You literally don't miss. I'm not like a pro musician, but I play instruments.
Yeah.
And I play a little bit of drums.
Okay.
You know,
that's
so
cool.
I can be pretty basic.
That's what I'm talking
about.
It's
like but like the meter, I think just every little beat, every little hit, all the different people that you played for to be able to memorize all those hits, all those moments, all those and the feel. I feel like you hit the snare and your head goes up, like you get your heads with the snare, you know, like your whole persona was perfect for Michael Jackson, you know, and so you went on to what tours were you with the Jackson 5? You were with.
I was on Destiny 7 when I joined them. It was the Destiny tour. They just dropped the Destiny album.
Okay.
Their first album away from Motown and CBS. They got with CBS. They went to Motown to Philadelphia Records, and then their first album on CBS was the Destiny album.
Okay.
And that's when I joined them.
Okay.
Second leg of that tour. And then I did the Destiny tour in the spring. They took a break for the summer. Then they did the Destiny tour, but Michael, in the meantime, had dropped the Off the Wall album. So they wanted to promote that too. So it was a combination Destiny and then Michael's solo Off the Wall tour in the fall, winter of 79. Then we went out on a Triumph tour in 81 and did the Triumph tour based on that record. And then that's when, then the next time was a Victory tour. So the Destiny, then Destiny Off the Wall, then Triumph, then Victory is 84. That record came out in 83. So, and Michael's as well. The Victory album for the Jackson Brothers, including Michael, came out in 83. And Michael dropped Thriller in 83.
Yeah.
And we promoted both of those on the 84 Victory tour. So then that's when I said that was his last tour with the brothers.
So on the when you first started with Michael Jackson, how old was he?
I was 24 when I was at the audition. So he was 20.
20?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. He was 20 years old. And he had made his mark in the industry. Super sensational. I say God grew me to be his drummer. God had a plan. And as I think about it in timeline and the lineage of both of our careers and lives together, of course I'm older. I was being groomed. Michael was very, very young at that point, but you got to remember, he was discovered by his mother, figuring he could do something like 6, 8, 7, 8. And she told Joseph, and he put him in front of the Jackson 5.
Yeah.
And I was just groomed. I started at 6. And so we both started at a rough young age at that age.
Yeah.
I was playing in clubs at 10. Michael was doing professional shows in the clubs and all that stuff at 10.
Wow.
So we were prepared, and all along, I wasn't at the big stage of the record industry, but in New Orleans, I become one of the top drummers.
Yeah.
And I've been learning all these skills, like we talk about on the records, and how to do everything, and the disciplines of that.
Yeah.
I was a huge fan of James Brown drummers. That's show drumming right there.
Oh, yeah.
They were some of my biggest heroes and influences. So that grew me to be able to work with Michael for hits and accents, because those drummers was right on with James. So I was inspired by how they can do that, play the groove and hit all them accents. I learned that being groomed to be ready for Michael.
Yeah.
He's so animated, his dance moves and stuff. So all the way up until I moved to California, he was megastar even at that point. And then that miraculously union of us, like getting lost on the freeway to be found by the industry.
Yeah, it's great.
I got lost on the freeway, be found by the industry, meaning the Jacksons.
Yeah.
So and the timing of it.
The
Like
timing.
I said, a few minutes, 1 minute, 2 minutes later,
Yeah.
James wouldn't have been on that phone.
God is always on time.
If I missed that exit, I would be right by Normandy Avenue that I've been looking for, and I would have missed it if I wasn't paying attention. So it was almost like something tapped me on the shoulder. Hey, fool, look up. It was like that because I don't know why I looked up at that moment. And then cut over. I said, "Oh my God, Normandy Avenue!" I jumped off the freeway. All these sequence of events. That's destiny.
It's destiny. Had to align perfectly.
And I
that's
joined him.
God.
And I joined him on the Destiny album.
Yeah, that's crazy too.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. I was wondering. I have so many questions that I have that I'm interested in. The movie is just come out, and we got to see the movie. We love the movie.
It's amazing, right?
Did you like it?
I mean, it's amazing. We love it. My wife and I. We're going again. Let's say tomorrow night.
Yeah.
I would be going tonight, but she needs to get a footy massage. So she's the boss. I'm the king, but she's the boss.
Okay.
We do what she say.
Okay. Yeah. As they say, happy wife, happy life.
There
right?
you go. Yeah.
So the movie. How accurate is the movie?
Well, it moves around because there's so much to tell. Mike, I tell everyone, and I mentioned it to Farquhar. I talked to Antoine Farquhar this morning texting.
Yeah.
And I said, Michael's life and career is like a Walt Disney movie, some Disney movie in real life, in reality.
Yeah.
Nobody has a story like that.
Yeah.
Think of a story that's being told right now. It's been told several times before, how magic from it's the seed of a young child.
Yeah.
To be gifted as if he was like 40-something old singing love songs, as if he experienced heartbreak and pain.
Right.
But he's doing it at 6, 7, 8 years old.
Right.
And he has more emotion than Smokey Robinson. Because Who's Loving You, the first hit song, Smokey wrote that song for himself. And he did the demo on it. But they gave it, Barry Gordy gave it to Michael to do. Just, I don't know if to test him out or what. And then Smokey himself said, I could never have sung that song like Michael did.
Wow.
When he was a little boy, come on.
Yeah.
And he sang it like he had been heartbroken 82 times in the past and suffered damage to his spirit. But he was a little kid that never had love like that. And that's the gift of God, the depth of the gift of God, that you can reach another place that's unreachable for most normal kids that age.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think my favorite. I think one of my favorite things about the movie. I mean, the era I grew up in. Michael. Even still, but like the era I grew up in. I was born in '75, so when like especially when Thriller hit. And it was just like, it just took over everything everywhere.
Changed everything.
It changed everything. But watching the movie, I remember places I was. I remember houses I was in. I remember, I remember I remember we didn't have any money, but I had a glove. It wasn't like his glove, but I had a glove and I put the glove on I tried to dance like I was Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
But just reminiscing about the movie, obviously the energy, the music. There's a part 2 coming out. I think there's a part 3 maybe coming out.
Yeah, I was told.
When you watch it, because you lived it.
That's my story.
Yeah, for 30 years,
30
right?
years, 30 years.
When you watch it, does it do that to you?
Yeah, of course, yes, because I'm basically getting a reflection back in the mirror of my story, my life, and my legacy. Is tied to his, forever tied to him.
Yeah.
That movie is part of my legacy. They got people depicting me in that film, and then there's a scene in the film a lot of people don't know. I used to tell people the story that I was on a Pepsi commercial shoot, and I did that with him, pantomiming, of course, but I was with him on that shoot, and when that unfortunate happened.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
You were on that set.
Yes, and when they show it in the movie,
yeah,
that's me.
Wow.
Actually in the movie.
Wow.
The other things are the concert tours, there was a kid playing me. But the actual footage from the Pepsi, it's the scenes where, like at the ending scene, where the drummer is shot from behind. The drummer stands up looking like this. That was me.
That's you.
That was actually his shoes.
Wow.
That, and then there's some other scenes that from the sides when they're shooting from different angles when they had him down on the steps on the stage, and you could see the drummer and me. I'm looking like this.
Yeah.
So that's actually me in the movie.
Wow.
I didn't expect that when I first saw it, and I told my wife, baby, that's me, that's me.
Yeah.
They actually got the footage.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had that footage.
Wow.
All these years, I never knew that.
So what do you think about, like, you know all these people. Mm-hmm. So is this Jermaine's son? Was Jafar?
Yeah, Jafar.
Right?
Yes.
He had to embody Mike. He had to learn everything his uncle, like the moves, the heart, the spirit, the mannerisms,
Yeah.
And I obviously I didn't know Michael Jackson, but you did, but you knew him since probably he was born. Mm-hmm. But like, how did you feel? Like, did you feel like you're almost like you're watching Michael?
I did. There's a lot of it. It takes a lot to become someone else. It's easy to be yourself.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to metamorphosis and become another human being, even if it's not his uncle.
Yeah.
But being his uncle, as a magnitude of personality his uncle is, and just as a person, Michael had a certain aura. He had a certain power of the way he carried himself, but in humility, extreme humility and grace. Michael, I've never, all the years I was with him, 30 years, I tell people this, and I swear, I've never once heard him yell. I don't know his voice sound like in a yelling tone.
Wow.
I don't know. I never heard him. I've seen him angry, like really angry. I never seen him scold anyone.
Right.
But he had a way of doing it.
Yeah.
He go to a security and and then next thing that guy comes up and say, "Hey, bro, you got to go." Or he does whatever he wanted. The next day you're gone. So Michael has a way, but he never shown any kind of aggression in 30 years with me around him.
Yeah.
He was always peaceful and shy, rocking on. He have his hands like in front of him or behind him. He's a rock on his boots and his heels and smiling, grinning and smiling. He gets shy, blushing.
Yeah.
Because he was a child caught and trapped in a man's body.
Yes.
His spirit stayed young because he never had a childhood.
Right.
And we spent hours out, on the streets hanging with our friends and stuff like that. But he was protected by the family and the record company behind the gates because, I hate to say, but it's the truth. He was like the commodity. He couldn't let nothing happen to him. There would be no Jackson 5 success without him. So they were good. But Michael was the key. He was the star on top of the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And he was that. So he never got to spend his childhood out. So people won't understand because everybody else pretty much on earth has spent our childhood out, became adolescents and adults and stuff, and we're in the serious sides of life.
Yeah.
That core part of a human being was trapped in him till the day he passed. So he's always trying to live be a child.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a lot of friends and that he could trust because everybody wanted something from him all the time.
Right.
He trusts children because they was innocent. They didn't want anything from or take advantage of him. And because that kid in him identified it with the kids.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
And so it's unfortunate they took that and used it as a weapon against him. They may have to address that later on in other films and stuff like that, but he was cleared by the system.
Yeah.
The FBI was on the stand. I watched the trial. They say we watched him. I didn't know they was watching us. 10 years on tours and stuff. We have nothing. We heard some things like we have nothing. In 10 years, we got files, huge files of.
Right.
There is nothing.
Right.
That we ever saw Michael would lend us to. Now this is the FBI. If somebody gonna find something out,
right,
they would have it.
Right.
They would love to put him incarcerate him.
Mm-hmm.
They say we have nothing at the trial that was on televised. They said that, and that's why he was cleared.
Yeah,
part of the reasons why, But anyway, it's sad that this gentleman had worked his way up to the pinnacle of life and existence and influence in the world and positive influence.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of tremendous philanthropy, going to hospital visiting children, going to old folks' home and visiting them, bringing everybody gifts and spreading money, building. He go to a hospital and said, and this all around the world, he said, what equipment you don't have here that you need that will save lives? And they'll tell him, he said, how much that costs? And he said, come in and write a check. He did that all over the world.
Wow.
And for people. He's been burn centers in different hospitals, visited children, piles and piles of gifts, go to toy stores buying gifts for everybody that cared about people, not just children, but the elderly. And he and I used to talk about it. We were very much alike, in that respect.
Yeah.
And so, but he told me to do it. I said, Mike, I was just joined him. We was trying to get to know each other.
Yeah.
I said, Mike, I'm nobody, you the one that got the popularity. You Michael Jackson from the 60s. I said, you got the power and the popularity. And I said, you could do these things because we both felt the same way.
Yeah.
And he said, you know what? You're right. I'm going to do that. And he started, I'm not to say he didn't do it before then, but he started doing that more and more.
Yeah.
Philanthropy and visiting, giving time. Instead of resting, he was over at hospitals and stuff like that, in different places, visiting people.
What was the moment? Was there ever a moment where you were like, where you realized maybe the magnitude, maybe the like this is like a once in a generation, maybe multi-generation artist, influencer? Like, was there ever a moment where you were just like, this is big?
I felt that before I got with him, and I was a fan of Jackson's. Like everybody did on Ed Sullivan's show, and I was one of them,
Okay.
And they inspired me to want to grow my career, my drumming career, to be at that level and be on TV.
Yeah.
And seeing them and Ringo Starr and from the Beatles and the Rolling Stones on TV, I want to be there. I want to be on TV one day. So all those kind of influences helped me and groomed me mentally and emotionally and spiritually, to know how to refine myself and get to that point and develop my talents and my gift to be noticed, by people that had the power to make that happen, put me on TV.
Yeah.
So there was I knew the magnitude of him and the Jacksons when I got the opportunity. Before.
Okay.
When I got with him, I told you it's time to get serious. You can't get nervous. You're not gonna get it.
Yeah.
So I had that mentality when I got with him, and of course, after I got the gig, and then I called Mom. Guess what? You're not gonna believe this. I'm with the Jacksons. She said, "You're kidding me? Stop lying." I said, "Mom, I'm not lying. I'm with the Jacksons." And they found out I was the first date of the second leg of the tour. And I told you in the winter of '79, we opened up in New Orleans. I got my whole family to come down and see me. Now I only been out there 9 months. And I had made it. I made it when they took me in March 1st, we went on the first tour. So basically I was out there a month and a half and I made it. I got selected by one of the biggest artists in entertainment. That was a magnitude of and that also told me this is God's work.
Yeah. Amen.
Most people be out there 6 years, 5 years, long times, and they don't get discovered at all. Or gets discovered after 2 years, 3 years, a month and a half. It was my destiny. And I kept saying, should I go? I'm going to be on the streets. I don't know if I should do it. But this voice inside said, just go. It's going to be all right. 6 months I was back and forth. I'm going, yeah. And then I said, man, I'm not going out there. I mean, back and forth from every week, every month. That was June when I got called about going there, and then December I said, if you don't go, you'll be an old man here in New Orleans on the porch, rocking in your rocking chair and saying, I wonder what would have happened if I'd have just given myself a chance and listened to that voice, the little voice.
Yeah.
And then that thought, being an old man on on the rocking chair in the porch, I said, I'm going. And that was my final decision. I took that chance. And that voice said, just trust me. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I listened to that voice. Sometimes you got to listen to that little voice.
Listen. Yeah.
Pay attention. That's God's talking. That may be God talking.
I think that's so good, because how many times in life we don't listen to that God's trying to tell us something.
Yeah.
Maybe there's somebody listening right now, man. You know God's trying to push you out to do something, to step out into faith. I'm reminded of the story of Peter in the boat, and he's going to walk out to Jesus and walk on water. And like, maybe today you're in a boat, and you can hear it. God's like, go step out of the boat. And like, hey, the miracle, we're talking about a man of miracles, and miracle after miracle after miracle to get him to this place. Your miracle is on the other side of your step of faith.
Yeah.
You got to take the step. So maybe his life story is a little encouragement to you today to take the step of faith.
Can I say this one thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. People look at my resume, as you have, and people say, man, you got one hell of a manager and agent.
Right.
Your team is incredible.
Right.
I've never, and all that you see on paper and in print and wherever you see it, I've never had a manager. I never had an agent, except for what I tell people. I do have a manager and I do have an agent.
Yeah.
I said, God is my manager.
Yeah.
I said, Jesus Christ is my agent.
Amen.
How can you do better than that? Look at my resume.
Amen.
I haven't had no human being manage me.
That's crazy.
Or agent go out and find work for me.
Yeah.
God brought everything you saw was brought to me because of the way I played and I approached my professionalism. I get my work.
Yes.
And I can only say that without a physical evidence of a human being, God is my manager and has been, and Jesus Christ is my agent. How can you do better than that?
How can you do better than that? Thank you for sharing that. Okay, I got to know.
Excellent.
You're drumming, and it's a Michael Jackson concert, and it's packed out, and the crowd's crazy. I mean, people are passing out all over the place, But Michael was so, like his moves, like you said, his aura, like. Did you ever, like, you're drumming, but you kind of looking over there like, man, that dude's crazy. He's good. He's good, Yeah. You're drumming, but like also watching the show yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm watching, always in the business mind of what I'm doing. I'm hired to do this job to play drums and given the best platform, which the drums is, to do his performance on. You remember Michael's a dancer.
Yes.
He's really known as a incredible dancing stuff. Well, I'm the beat that makes for his feet to make him move.
And the beat for his feet.
Yes, exactly. I'm the motivation. The drums is always that for a dancer. So I tell people we're dance partners in that light. Especially on Billie Jean when it's at the end it's just the drums and his dancing. I say we're dance partners. And so I watch him a lot of times. But I'm always in a deep mentality of what I'm there for and what I'm doing in the moment of what I'm doing. Not as a fan. I'm aware of that. I say, man, look at this, it's an unbelievable move. I'm thinking that, but I try to play stronger and harder and more inspirational.
Yeah.
And to let him feel my intensity, my energy. And he said, that's what I like. Your energy is unbelievable. I feed off of it. And he would look back at me, always smile, and then he'd do a move that I never saw before. I said, whoa, I'm serious. I said, whoa, cool. Where'd that come from? And I said, okay, take this. And I do something more powerful and motivate him, and he looked back again. So we fed off of each other.
Yeah.
But there's most of the time I would watch and marvel at it, but I don't have time to really lay on that, my mind on that, because I'm in the moment of where I'm supposed to be, and I practice to be. And this is serious business.
Yes.
And I'm a business person on my drums, and so I never deviate. I think about bills I got to pay, this and that with my girlfriend. When she mad at me or whatever, that goes away as soon as the dark lights go down. I can only know every beat. I'm in the presence of every kick drum, every snare drum, every hi-hat, every fill I do, and that main master, whether it's Michael or Madonna, Elton, that's what I'm there for, to serve them and to serve the show in whole.
Yes.
So everything is based on the drums. Drums feel, the show feels. So I take it extremely, extremely serious, and what I do, and I don't leave that whatever is a stadium or auditorium spiritually until the lights go down and the show is over. And then I breathe a breath of relief that it went well.
Yes.
And then I'm ready to think about other things. So, but I'm always been very, very serious minded about what I do. It's fun. My work is my play. My play is my work.
Yeah.
But it's a serious business for me.
I had heard some stuff, and you know, I heard that in the last, I don't know, year or something like that, like one of Michael's requests was that he wanted to go to church, and somebody took him to church. I can't even remember where I heard that from. I had heard that he had given his life to Jesus Christ. I had heard that he was a Christian. Do you know, was he a Christian?
But he was always spiritual and always like that. I know in the last several years he talked about God. He talked about Christ a lot.
Yeah.
More than I'd heard him in the 70s. Well, I only had 1 year of 70s, so the 80s and the 90s. I didn't hear. He would always speak of God bless you and things like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people throw that around like it's just a word to say.
Right.
No depth of spirit attention.
Right.
But the last several years of his life, 10 years or more, I heard him talking more publicly, openly.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people feel those things where they feel they're going to be judged if they speak out.
That's right.
You know, you shouldn't have fear about that. I never have fear. I say anywhere I'm at, I speak of it because that's the reality.
Right.
So anyway, he has been more open in the latter years to that. But so I know 100% he believes in God and he has faith in God. And I'm sure all along the way, he knew it wasn't all him. Because when you gifted like him, and I feel that God has graced me with, there's a knowing. There's an inner knowing. Something's here inside here is different. It's special. And that's why you serve it and you groom it. Because you realize it. There's two parts of the gift I tell people. There's the gift itself, the seed of the gift itself. But it means nothing if you don't nurture it. You don't recognize it. The gift and then the recognition that this is a gift for you.
Yeah.
Not something else. This is my gift. Then the rest of it's up to you to apply yourself.
Yes.
To make it into the light that God wants you to shine. So, he had that. I'm sure when his mother learned how he could sing. Even before then, he knew something was special. All people like that gifted to his magnitude.
No doubt.
You know it. And you serve that. You wind up serving that. And I always say that music is medicine. We're here to heal.
Yeah.
That's our purpose. And musicians and creators of medicine that heals the spirit. We deal with the spirit.
Yes.
There's all kinds of other professions, but there's mainly music, serves the soul. And takes people away from their bad times and their minds off different things and makes them happy again for whatever period of time or however long the record is.
Yeah.
My record goes off, they're back to the press.
Yeah.
But no, put on another record.
Put it on again, rewind it.
But we're doctors, we're medicine. I always say that,
What about let's take a detour. Because you played for Elton John, you played for Madonna. Tell me about that.
Amazing. Elton John, people call me and says, I forgot her name. I'm calling from Elton John, and Elton loves your work. He's been following you for years. He wants you to play with him. I said, come on, this is a joke. Because I've been an Elton fan since the early 70s. Yeah. And he used to play his stuff in the clubs. And I said, come on, it's a joke. He said, no. She laughed. No, this is serious. I work for Elton John. He wants you to be his drummer. I said, are you serious? She said, yes. She said he wants he's getting ready to tour. He wants you to be his drummer. He wants you to fly to Miami and rehearse. And I couldn't believe it. This is one of my heroes as well. In a genre of music that I'm not really known for, rock music, but I always study and play rock in the clubs in New Orleans as well. My brother's band and other bands, So I knew rock music, but people didn't know me for that. Here's one of the greatest rock artists, in the history of music. And prolific songwriter, whose songs I gravitate toward. He's one of the best songwriters in history of music. And he wants me to be his drummer. Right. It's outside of what people know me for.
Right.
I said, if this is real, yes, of course, I'd love to be Elton's drummer. She said, well, good, fine. He'll be so happy. He's been saying all along, he's been following your career. And I can't just fathom that Elton John. Come on, Elton John followed my career. A little drummer. I think a little drummer. So I think I said he's following. She said yes, he wants you to play. So 2 years I was with Elton. I did the Sleeping with the Past album with Sacrifice and stuff like that. But I did 2 tours with him. One for the Red Strike back album, and there was this comeback album. Then for the Sleeping with the Past album.
What was your funnest song to play with Elton?
Ooh, there's so many great songs, man. I would have to say Philadelphia Freedom. I love playing that song. It just rocks, man. You know, Rocket Man.
Rocket Man,
You know, Saturday Night's all right for fighting because it's rock and roll, real rock and roll.
yeah.
That's true rock and roll right there. So I mean, but he has a catalog. Even songs, obscure songs I never heard before. I had to learn more symphonic songs that I never knew he did. You know, Burn on the Mission and Funeral for a Friend. It starts off like strings and orchestra stuff, and I never did that before. So I had to learn timpani kind of stuff on the times, and you know, it was a learning experience. And then at the middle of the song, it grows into the rock segment. It was awesome to play.
Yeah.
You know, Elton's one of my best gigs I've ever done. You know, playing with him because he's an iconic Elton. Number two, and then I love his songwriting and and he's unbelievable art pianist and vocalist.
Yeah, he's so good.
A true vocalist. No auto tune, all that stuff. He belts it out straight. We did the first tour, 4.5 hours show. 4.5 hours show.
Wow.
Yes. Until people start complaining, it's too long, we're tired.
Yeah.
So they cut it back. Okay, 3.5 hours. So that was the longest show that I ever did. You know, and no intermission.
Wow, that's amazing. Straight through.
Yeah.
Like
but I did it because every song was such a hit and such a great thing to play. I didn't mind. I got more charged up every time. But
what about Madonna? What was your favorite Madonna song to play?
Oh, I like a lot of. I like Lucky Star. I like to play that Holiday.
Yeah.
And then I played on Papa Don't Preach with her. I did that record. And Open Your Heart Is Me. That was the first song I recorded with her. And then I did Live to Tell, that ballad she did with her. And then Like a Prayer, a song that I did on the Blind Ambition tour. On the Like a Prayer album, it's called Keep It Together.
Yeah.
And she got a lot of hits, you know.
Yeah,
some before me I love playing, and some that I'm playing on it myself. So it's always good to represent.
I grew up on that, you know, the Papa Don't Preach and Like a Prayer, and like, you know, maybe that's why I'm a pastor now. I don't know. But so what was that like? You know, playing with Madonna.
She's very, very perfect, like Michael. Perfectionist as well. She's really stricter than Michael. Yeah. You know, she's
okay.
Yeah, she grew up out in the open air in the streets and stuff like unlike Michael. And so she was a little tougher and demanding of everybody. Yeah. You don't mess up. She will tell you on the mic in front of the 80,000 people. They call your name and say how you messing up a show. Yeah. You know, in words I'd rather not use, but I mean, real open. She's open like that. But she's a workaholic and she got tremendous energy. She's the only one can keep up with my energy. Yeah. And she told the band at a rehearsal, Jonathan's the only one can keep up with our energy because he wanted to do the show over and over. And she said, he's the only one. And you guys are standing around, get off those chairs and relax and get up there, stand up and play guitar.
So I heard, I'm gonna mess this up, but I heard some version of a quote that Michael said, you know, sometimes my bass might make a mistake. Sometimes, you know, my guitarist might make a mistake. Sometimes I might make a mistake. But Sugarfoot, he didn't make a mistake. Have you ever heard that?
I've heard that. Yeah. I heard that mostly more recently. I never hit I started hearing that about 2 or 3 years ago. Okay. That I didn't know he made that statement publicly. Okay. I had no idea. And some other ones that people told me he said that about things like that about me. And I didn't know he was even talking about me to people when I wasn't around. But everybody would meet that he said that met him. He said he's always talking about you. Yeah. Now I never knew. I said, but I wonder. Well, why is he always? I mean, we're not on tour. Why is he always bringing me up and talking? Because random people has nothing to do with music. Even they say, "Yeah, Michael told me about you, and we're talking about you and stuff, and how much he admires you, and he loves you." Everyone will say he loves you, and how much he admires and respects you, and how great you are on drums. And I'm like, wow, why is he always bringing me up? Because we're not together. Yeah. You do that about people you're around a lot.
Yes,
but it always puzzled me. There's something I say we have a spiritual connection that was there because I talk about him, of course, but he's a mega magnitude of star. Yeah. But him to talk about his drummer when there's no need for the drummer, and he would just randomly bring me up to people, and I was puzzled. Why is that? He fixated on talking about me whoever he's talking to had nothing to do with the stage or the drumming things. Yeah. But I leave that up to God. Knows why he does that. Yeah. And I appreciate that he has the feelings of things they say. You know, but we had a really, really close relationship. And
called you Foot.
Yeah,
right?
that was his foot. I was his foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he told me open up a shoe store. Call it Footery. You open up a shoe store. You call it Footery.
I could see it.
Yeah,
I could see it. He called you foot, man.
yeah.
What what you were supposed to go, I think, on a final tour with him.
Mhm. Yes,
Um and you were in his final rehearsal.
yes. Last
Yeah.
night it was live till 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
Well, and early in the day, we used to rehearse in the afternoon. I was in the studio working on my Christmas album. I was mixing and mastering that, and we had a rehearsal that called for 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I got the call that they pushed it back, and I didn't know the reason why.
Yeah.
But subsequently, that the word started coming in, and even to the studio, getting calls and said, "You had rehearsals? Heard something happened to Michael?" I said, "No, what are you talking about?" And they said, "He's not. It doesn't look good." And so when I got to rehearsals, of course, I was worried. And in fact, before then, I got 2 calls at the studio. First one I didn't believe. I said, "Oh no, I heard that story about Michael. If the band don't sound good, he will fake an injury or sickness and even go to the hospital and say I can't do it and postpone it because the band didn't please him."
Yeah.
But I said, "No, but this band is a great band. I can imagine that." I said, "Yeah, but if he don't think he's ready enough, or the show is not ready enough, maybe he's trying to buy more time." So after the first call, saying something happened to him, and so I went on working. And then a few minutes later, they got another call. And it was one of my endorsement companies. And they said, "You had rehearsal?" I said, "No." I said, "I'm in the studio." And they said, "Yeah." He said, "What time you go to rehearsal?" I said, "I'll go at 4 o'clock." He said, "Well, anybody call you from there?" I said, "No." And I knew from the other call. And they said, "Nobody called you?" I said, "No." And he said, okay. Then we talked about a couple other things. He was buying time. And then he said, "Well, Jonathan, I heard that somebody told me that something happened to Michael. And it doesn't look good." I said, "What are you talking about?" That's when the sensors went off. I got the chills. 2 separate phone calls, 2 separate people. I said, something's to this. And then I called to my girlfriend at the time. I called back after that phone conversation. He said, "I think you should check on what the guy said." I called my girlfriend at that time, and said, "You got the TV on?" And she said, No. So I said, "Turn it on. Look at the stations and stuff and see if you see anything about Michael. I heard something happen." And that's when she did. And she's changing channels. He said, "I don't see nothing. They ain't talking about Michael." And then we talking. I said, "Yes, I keep getting these calls." He said, "Oh, no, wait. Oh, no, my Jonathan, no." I said, "What do you mean?" They said, No. They said something happened to him. They're rushing him to the hospital now. And I said, "What? You got to be kidding. He's had a heart attack or something." I said, "You kidding me?" So I said, "Okay." So then I got the call from the organization. And they said, they didn't tell me nothing. And the girl that handles that, she said, "Look, you got extra time at the studio, another half hour, so to be at this rehearsal at 4:30, not 4 o'clock." And I said, "Oh, okay," because I said, "Everything okay?" She said, "Yeah, everything's fine. Just be there at 4:30. You got extra time." And then that's when I got a call from my ex-girlfriend at the time. She said, "Oh, now," she was crying. "Oh, now Jonathan, he's gone." And I said, "What do you mean?" I just finished the session, packed in my car, and I'm driving. And she called me and told me that. And I just went in shock.
Wow.
I was like, I don't know if you ever had it. I know my eyes are moving around and looking at things as I'm driving. I got to be careful when I'm looking at things. But it's like sometimes when if you, I don't know how to explain it. If you hit your head on something, you hear that tone, and your ears ringing.
Yeah.
It was like that since, and I'm looking around, but I felt no existence in me. Like I didn't even exist. And I know my eyes are open and looking around, seeing everything as I'm driving, trying to be careful, but I couldn't think clearly. I wasn't aware who I was or what I know I'm going to the rehearsals, but I couldn't think. And I heard this loud tone in my head and ringing sound. And I felt chills on my arms and stuff. And I felt like I wasn't here. I was here, but I wasn't here on earth. I felt in a displacement of spiritual. And I drove all the way to the Staples Center and got there, parked my car. I'm praying. Walked in there, I'm scared to death. They said, he's gone. When you're gone, you can't come back. So I went in there, and when I got inside there, I took the monitor speaker, all the speakers on the floor. The confirmation. My drum set was mostly torn down. The lighting truss, everything was down. And it didn't register. I was still in that sense of shock. And then one of the musicians, girl guitarist, came to me. She's crying. and I didn't like how should I say release until I'm consoling her.
Yeah.
And then the percussionist, a good friend of mine, Bashir, came over and said, Johnson, I'm so sorry, and this and that. And he said certain words that triggered it. And then I went into a major shock, and they said, let's call the paramedics. I went into uncontrollable crying and screaming, and I hate to even talk about it, but and I couldn't stop for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Everybody was leaving and going, but they kept me on the couch. They carried me because I couldn't walk, and put me on the Kenny Ortega's couch, the tour, the show manager, and in his room, and they was trying to console me, but I just couldn't understand what had happened.
Yeah.
It was one of the most unbelievable days of my life, and spiritual destructive day. I'd never been in shock like that before.
Yeah.
And because the thought that you can't come, he's not coming back. He's going.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It was very, very, extremely difficult.
You were just with him, talking with him.
The night before, 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
He walked over to me talking and told me, complimented me. And I said, thank you. I complimented him. He said, thanks for doing these tours with me. You're always here. I said, thanks for having me. He said, what do you mean? I got to have you. I want you. Then you're here because I want you here. Wow, yes. He said, you sound incredible. You sound great. You always do. He said, okay, well, we run through it tomorrow. And again, we pick up where we left off because we didn't quite finish today. And he said, we pick up where we left off. Then we start from the top again, run it again. Then we run it one more time. And we're ready for next week when we go to London. He said, okay, well, I love you, Foot. And he gave me a hug and hugged me for longer than normal. And it was like prophetic. He held me and holding me for like 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. And he says, we hugging each other. Then he said, I love you, Foot. And I said, I love you too, Mike. He said, drive home safely, cheerful.
Yeah.
I said, you too now. He started giggling like a little kid. And I'm laughing, I'm smiling, he looked back at me, I looked back at him. We always do that when we were leaving. He said, and he started giggling like a little kid, like boy. And he said, okay, bye. And went off and got in my car. And I saw him pull out when I was in my car parked. The ramp comes up and I saw him pull out. There's people pull off. And didn't know that was the last time I see life in him, hold him and hug him and feel life in him, It's, man, it's just too much,
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but one of my blessings, I'd have to say, is that I did get a last hug and I got a last love you. And unfortunately, very unfortunately, and I would trade places and give it to her. Mother didn't even get the chance. I wish she would have, instead of me, had that experience and got to say that before that happened. Or his brothers, Yeah. But I feel blessed that he felt to come over me and tell me that, and then hold me, hug me for a long time, sincerely saying how much I'm into him, and we've been touring a long time. Things like exciting stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I look at that and treasure that memory of that last moments with him. That I got to say I love you back.
Yeah. I think that's such a good, like a ministry moment for anybody listening, because Scripture says we're not promised tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we don't know. Mm-hmm. We don't know if we got tonight. We don't know if we got tomorrow. And so many of us have experienced the loss of somebody that you thought you were going to see him tomorrow.
Yeah.
Expecting to, and you just never think in a million years. And so to make today count, love hard, man, love big, love, tell your loved ones you love them, give them a hug, and giggle and laugh with them, and carry that same spirit. And, I think he had such good people around him, but, Sugarfoot, you were one of them. And, I was curious, like, what was your favorite song to play with him?
Everybody asked that. The most difficult question.
Yeah.
You might as well ask me, why was I born?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. And why's your name Jonathan?
Yeah, right.
Because all of his songs are so great. I mean, so memorable. And it happened released in periods of time of your life. You remember what you were doing at that time.
Yeah.
It was such memorable songs, and his performances just struck you as something extraordinary.
Yes.
It's like I should say, oral, vocal Picassos or Rembrandts or Renoirs, and his records. The way he sing is like artists like that.
Yeah.
Michelangelo's, the voice. Da Vinci, he had Da Vinci voice. So you remember those things, and nobody else could sing like that and do like that. So, I had so many songs that he reflected so much incredible talent in that, and I was a fan of all those songs and hits, and just like you and everybody else. I'm a fan of the same songs. He has such a catalog and repertoire. But I would have to say, if I'm going to be forced to to say my arm twisted behind my back and toes pointed upwards, I'd have to say Billie Jean, because that's when it's just me and him one-on-one.
Yeah.
And I get to lay that foundation, that beat, and make him dance.
Yes.
And I would make him dance, because
there's an iconic video on YouTube. It's like a split screen, and it's showing you playing from this back angle. I don't know if it's that song. I can't remember what song it is.
It's a lot of songs like that. You know why I know? My wife did that video.
Okay.
She creates the videos for me with that combination.
That's really
all
cool.
All of those her creation. I told you, she's social media, and
that's really cool.
She edits and combines the music with those footage and grabs those, and she does all those things, split screens this way. Sometimes 4 screens. That's her creation.
That's really cool.
She's
good for her. Hey, there you go. How did you meet her?
Another miracle. Unfortunately, but fortunately, I met my wife Myra at the after services of Michael's second funeral. He had the first grand funeral at the Staples Center, and it was one of the most difficult times of my life and days of my life. I had to perform for him, which, in a sense, is an honor.
Yeah,
but in a sense, it's almost like punishment, because he's laid out before me.
Yeah.
And the entire time I'm trying to see through my eyes that full of tears. So it was grueling for me. But afterwards, that was the Staples Center. Then month and a half, 2 months later, in September, they had the private services, and I'm family, so of 200 people, I was invited.
Yeah.
And she wasn't with me. That's why I met her. So I went there, and turns out, we got to after the private services, we went to Pasadena to a place that they had the gathering of all the superstars, and Quincy Jones and everybody was there, and the band member, not all the band members, but some of us, because all of them wasn't as close to the family like I was. So I'm family with them. So anyway, I got there, and I was with a mutual friend of my wife and I. So he introduced me to her, and turns out she was the one who designed the programs for Michael's services.
That's
the
crazy.
Cover and it was her and a company she had worked for. They needed somebody to do that. That company got through some connections of friends, got them to do it. That owner of the company asked her to do it because they know she's creative in that arts and stuff like that. So she did the whole arrangement of the actual memorial service cover.
Yeah.
Now that's ironic.
That's really cool.
That's ironic.
Yeah.
So this friend introduced us, and as soon as my eyes cut through the darkness and saw her, I said, I'm serious, I swear. Immediately my mind, without me thinking, provoking the thought, said, oh my God, look at my next wife. And I did it without even thinking about it. I'm going to say that. It just happened. It thought in my mind, oh my God. So my next wife, I grabbed her hand, and I'm holding her hand, and I said, God, this is my next wife. And I said, make it happen, God. I'm holding her hand. Then it dawned on me, a wake-up call snapped, and the bell rang, and ding. Wait a minute. That can't be your next wife. You can't be with her. She's way too young.
Because you just thought she was way younger than she was,
Way younger, 10.
But she wasn't.
She wasn't. 10 years younger. But she looked so young. We talked and stuff, and she found me on Facebook, started communicate with me. 5 years later, I went on a Cirque du Soleil Michael Jackson Estates Immortal Tour, was 2011 through 2014. But in 2012, I think it was, she contacted me. And we started chatting on Facebook, on Messenger and stuff. And we didn't talk about things like that so much. We just talked about, because she's a huge Michael fan. She'd been to Neverland, all that stuff. And then she did the pamphlets, she told me, and stuff. So she had a side relationship with Mike, around Michael, not with him. And she saw him at Neverland a few times, but didn't get to say hi. And then my relationship, direct connection with him. So then she called me up, and one night, in 2015, December 2015, the 14th, I'll never forget it, because I'm driving home from a rehearsal for something I had to do in Las Vegas, and just rehearsing. And I live in Irvine and North Hollywood, where we rehearsed just like an hour and a half from there. So I'm driving home, dead sleepy, and I'm saying, "How am I gonna make it home?" I'm running over those things on the road. I'm trying to stay awake, open the windows up. That wasn't working. Put water on my face. It wasn't working. Turn the music up loud. And I'm sitting there. So I got to get home and get in that bed. My phone rings. And I said, "Who's this?" It was about 11:30 at night. I picked up the phone. I saw her name on the thing, Myra. I said, Myra. "Oh, that's that girl."
Myra.
I said, "That's that girl." Oh my God. 'Cause I wasn't going to answer. I said, and I answered the phone. I turned the air on, straight on me, and then I answered the phone. I was so tired. And I said, "Hello." I said, put the voice on that. And then she said, "Hey, Jonathan." So we talked for a minute. She said, "Jonathan, no, listen. I want to see you." I said, "See me?" I said, "I'm tired. I'm just coming from rehearsal. I'm trying to get to the bed." She said, No, I got to see you. I only thought of you. I don't want to see my sister. Nobody. I want to just see you." I said, "What?" I said, "Can't we see you tomorrow?" She said, "No, right now." I said, "Right now." I said, and I thought to myself, if you don't, when you get that door open, if you don't walk through it, you may not get it tomorrow.
It might close.
I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Where you at?" She said, "I'm in the ER." I said, "The ER?" She wasn't feeling good. She said, "The first person to make me feel happy and better, it'd be you." Now, this is after not seeing her since 2010, I think it was. I hadn't seen her, so our lives went different ways, but we stayed in touch.
Yeah.
And she said, "I want to see you right now." I said, "Come to me." I said, "Oh, okay. I'm heading over there right now." Tried to freshen up. And I walked in the ER, and she looked like she was on the cover of Vogue magazine. Beautiful. Like, whoa. I turned that corner and said, "Whoa, look at my next wife again." And I said, "Boys, get that out of here."
Yeah.
And I walk up to her, and we start talking. We start talking that night, and she said, "Yeah, Destiny needs to see you." I said, "Greg," I said, "What you doing in here?" She told me she wasn't feeling well. And then we talked. We said, I stayed with her, and we talked. And she said, "You want to take me home?" I said, "Yeah, where you live?" So she was staying with her sister at the time. So I took her home. And then she started calling me more every day. And we developed a friendship, a relationship. And but I always still thought she was way too young for me. Yeah. So I said, then she said, "Yeah, I really, really like you." And she said, "Let's make a relationship." I said, wait a minute, you way too young for me. And that's when it came out. She said, "How do you think I am?" And I said, when I met you, I thought you was like 17. And she started laughing. She said, "No, silly boy, I was like 28. And then she said, "How old are you?" And then she couldn't believe it. I was 50 at the time. And I said, "That's impossible. Come on." She said, "That's okay. My people we like older men." I said, no, I can't do that. I pushed back so many times. I can't do that. We can be friends and stuff. And then I met with some friends who had met her too. And they said, "Jonathan, if you don't want to talk to her, I don't have no problem with it. Give me her number." I said, "Wait a minute. I didn't make a final decision." They would say, "No, seriously." I said, no. And I called her that night. I said, "Hey, baby, let's make this happen. Let's just do it." And that's how we got together. Yeah. And we started going out. And then Valentine's Day, she said, "Let's make it official." That was in 2016.
Yeah.
And I said, "No, it's too soon." She said, "No, it's not." And she talked me into that. I was like, okay. Then 6 months later, August that year, she said, "Let's get engaged." I said, "Engaged? You're moving too fast." And I said, okay. So we engaged for some number of years. We've been married 5 years. So it was a culmination of 10 years we've been together. So, and that's our really anniversary coming up in August. And
well, from my perspective, you guys look like you were literally born for each other.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing you guys sitting in church. You just look like the perfect couple, and look like you belong to. Speaking of church, hey, our drummer for Impact Church, Impact Worship, his name is Chris Simmons. You know Chris.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
I think Chris might have invited you to church the first time you came. If I remember
that's why I found you guys through him.
Okay.
At the mall. He's
okay.
He invited me to his church. Come to our services.
That's pretty cool.
He said, "My pastor is incredible. He's great. He spoke highly, very highly."
Come on, Chris. Shout out Chris Simmons. I love you, brother. Christopher Simmons.
Yeah, I think you like him. And he was right. And I took it right from the first time. I said, yeah, he's right. He's got incredible delivery and sensibilities about the teachings, and I could feel it when he's relating spiritually, and everything makes sense from my reading of the Bible. and my perspective of things, and his intellect is deep, and he's funny too. You were funny too, so it make it a fun situation of a pleasant time there in church when sometimes it's kind of too stiff sometimes, and that pushes people away. You have a way of magnetism and making it pleasurable for people, as well as feeding them the nourishment, the spiritual nourishment they need, and making sure they were full when they finish the services of positivity, you know.
Amen, man. Thank you for saying that. I think I was curious when you're sitting in church, like, because Chris has been my drummer, my friend, my nephew. You know, he calls me his uncle.
Yeah.
And so I call him my nephew, but he's been with us, I think, for like 12 years. He's been with us a long time.
Yes. Wow.
But he's sensational.
He's a fantastic drummer.
Great drummer.
Fantastic.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but you and I were talking one day. We still got to make this happen. We got to figure out how to get, because you've been, you played for 3 decades for the king of pop, and so we're trying to figure out a way to get you one Sunday to play for the king of all kings at Impact Church. So we've been talking about that. We got to make that happen,
Well, let's do it as a special show. I'll do a Michael show for the congregation.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And but my kid is so big, I need the whole center stage.
Yeah, I know. That, I was asking, as I said, are you still getting a new drum piece every birthday or what, man? Because I'm like, I asked you before the podcast. I said, man, you've got a lot of cymbals. Yeah. Like I thought it was 14. You said 16.
16, yeah.
16 cymbals. And then I was telling you about my friend who you love him. You were at church when he led worship, but Roosevelt Stewart.
Yeah, amazing singer. Oh my God.
So good, man. Shout out Ro to you. Yes. But like I was asking Ro, or I was telling Ro that, yeah, man, Sugarfoot's a part of our church. And he's like, Sugarfoot? And he does it like that's a
backlash, whiplash.
Oh, backlash, whiplash. That's a signature move right there, man.
Yeah.
And then when you
catch him, man.
Yeah, and I gotta ask this, I feel like the things I'm watching, you don't seem like you've slowed down, missed a beat. Like you look back 30 years ago.
I don't have my bangs. I lost my bangs. Everybody got some extra bangs.
Yeah, but I don't think you've do you still feel good?
I feel fantastic. God has been incredibly wonderful, and it blessed me and graced me with extension of life. I had a life crisis 2018 and a major surgery, and I didn't know if I was gonna make it. Defib twice on table, and but he had more for me to do. Like I'm speaking with you, and this whole thing, my legacy, my life, and always in a major crisis like that, one of the major fears is, you're going to come back to be able to do what you did before. Especially what I do, I love so much doing passion.
Yeah,
I was scared I wasn't going to be able to play no more.
Yeah,
but I came back like nothing happened, and that's all through the grace of God.
Did you have triple
bypass heart surgery? Yes, and they said, my wife said, the doctor said that my heart stopped twice on the table. They had to defib me, and God says no. I'm still keeping him there.
Yeah,
and kept me here and revitalized me and revived me to the degree that I played like nothing happened.
Yeah,
and that's a true blessing. No, I haven't lost any other than some sleight of hand speed and stuff like that, because I don't mainly because I don't practice as much as I should. I do practice, but not as much, and also because I'm not on the road as much as playing all the time. So I've decided to lay back a little bit from the touring, because it's really, really grueling, especially with my heart condition. I can do it, but you don't know that you can't do it until something happens. So I have to be careful.
Right.
So I do it I still play in measured amounts, especially shows, so to speak, that honors Michael or some other thing. I don't do, and I do recording sessions. I don't do nightclubs. I stopped doing nightclubs in like 92.
Okay.
But so I still play, and I still can play.
Yeah.
I'm so blessed I can still play to the degree and the power that I used to play. So that's grace from God.
That's grace. I was thinking about, so you went through, this serious heart failure, and I was thinking about my life, because 3 years ago I suffered a hemorrhagic stroke, and I almost died, and I lost my speech, my memory, my cognition, my motor skills. It came out of nowhere, probably much like yours.
Yeah, yes.
And so I had written a book, and I want to give you a copy of this book for you.
So much. Yes.
But the fire is for you. You've been through fires.
Yes.
I've been through fires.
Yeah.
And I just have come to realize that with God, there aren't wildfires, but they're controlled fires. And Scripture talks about how the fire it purifies us, that it burns out the impurities. I'm thinking of the book of Daniel of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego when they were put in the fire and they came out, but we know that there was a fourth one in the fire and it was Jesus. And I was thinking about this because you just mentioned your triple bypass, heart failure. For me, it was a massive stroke.
Serious.
I was thinking about Michael and how you had said you were on the set for the Pepsi commercial.
Yes, I was.
I mean that's a physical fire, but like it was a fire that he walked through, going through all that, and that scene is obviously in the movie.
Yes, it is.
And like a pyrotechnic or whatever, his hair caught on fire. I think is what happened. I'm just curious from your perspective because you saw it.
I was there.
You were there.
Yeah, I was like 5 feet, maybe 10 feet from him when that happened. And when I noticed, looking at him, I watch him all the time for accents or cues, whatever. And he was at the top of the stairs. And I'm looking back playing. And then he stood there, posed. And then he first stepped down. I saw a small whiff of smoke come off the top of his head. I thought maybe the lights, because the lighting is hot. But I said, wow, this look like smoke coming off his hair. That must be something, smoke when you're beyond him. I'm just seeing from that perspective. And then it grew. And then next thing you know, like a light, a switch is a poof. A small flame came. I said, wait a minute. His hair, I'm playing, still faking. This, like they say, show must go on. Faking like I'm, because they're still shooting. Yeah. And I said, wait a minute, his hair's on fire. And he didn't notice at first. He stepped down a few more steps. And then I guess it got to his scalp. And he felt it. And he started doing like this, shaking his head. And then he started hitting his head. And it was still trying to sing. And then he started spinning. And I said, oh my God. And the flame, as he's spinning, it made the flame really burst up big time. So I'm saying, oh my God, he's trying to do the six down and try to run around. My hi-hat is blocked away because the edge of my platform was there, could have fallen off. And I'm trying to figure out how to get around it. And they showed that actual footage from that on the film. I wasn't aware of that until I first saw the film a little bit over a week ago. About a little bit over a week ago. I said to my wife, "Well, that's me. That's it. The actual footage. Yeah. I didn't know they even had that footage with me in it." So a few shots in that scene of the Pepsi commercial, they have me, the actual me, and they're not an actor, but actual scenes from that unfortunate incident. And like you said, that was a test for him to go through in a way. And the most remarkable thing is he went through those things and other things and still became the king of pop.
Yeah.
He didn't stop him. He got through that. He recovered and had more of a purpose in his life, he felt. And it was driven even stronger than he was beforehand. And he applied himself. And for somebody to go through that and raise to the most prominent musician or recording artist in the history of music, and not just pop music, but in the history of music, and his gift just grew, singing gifts, and his dancing group just grew. Yes. Because he was at that point, in a way, it was sort of like an anointment. Yeah. That whole incident, that stimulus, like it's almost like giving you more and stronger incentive to reach the higher than you thought you was going to be. Yeah. So you work hard. You see the purpose now, a grander purpose, and your vision was more limited before. You said a grander purpose, and then you're going to work all that you are to become that. Yeah. And for him to have gone through trials and tribulations of such nature, challenges that he had, and like they said, he couldn't sleep. That hair incident got him on the drugs that made him can't sleep. Yeah, he was taking ups and downs because he had trouble sleeping. Yeah, and his head never healed. In case people don't know, they had to do skin grafts and all kind of things to try to get it to take and grow the hair back. It never healed. It never, to understand at the autopsies, it still had damage. Like it had not just happened, but not kind of just happened. Yeah. He suffered through all of that, all of those years of the pain of that, and other things he was suffering with. He suffered through all of that and persevered. Even then, to become the greatest entertainer that ever lived in the history of music and entertainment. And that's an incredible testimony. Yeah. When you have all that going against you, but you still elevate You still
Yes.
elevate to the pinnacle of beyond anybody else had done.
Yes.
And that's why we remember him today, because of what he's accomplished and he was able to achieve. And most people don't focus on all the bad things he had to get through to get to that mountaintop.
Right.
You know, it's to me, it's tenfold of what he's accomplished. It's tenfold magnitude
Yeah.
of what he really accomplished.
Yeah.
When you rise above all of those things, you know, non-sleep, and you're on stage. I'm watching him do concerts. I had no idea he couldn't sleep until that trial incident. They say he wasn't sleeping.
Yeah.
Even on the history tour, he come out there and kill it and blaze it.
Yeah.
With all that energy for 2 hours 40 minutes. We're doing 2 hours 40 minutes. How can you do that on no sleep?
Right.
It was incredible.
Right.
When I learned that, it was without knowing that he wasn't sleeping. It was incredible. Then I learned he was doing that on little or no sleep, or half sleep.
Yeah.
Because of that stuff, that he still performed the way he did.
Yes.
It's remarkable and unbelievable.
It's like another level of incredible.
Tenfold, yeah.
Tenfold, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, to me, he's my little brother. You know, and it's not like I lost the work. That doesn't matter. I lost my boss, so to speak, or my employer, and I lost an incredible person or artist of a person that I work for. But beyond all of that, I lost my little brother, and that's what mattered the most. You know, because like we just talked about, we were close.
Yes.
And that's what hurt more than anything, you know.
Yes.
The work is, I got work, I do other works and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But being as close to him as I was, and I lost my little brothers, he was like real brothers. I mean, and the rest of the brothers, they're like my real family, even though the blood is not exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's still the blood.
Yeah.
I mean, we all the same.
Yeah.
Because the blood is the blood of humankind.
That's right.
There's little idiosyncrasies or differences, whatever. But of all mankind and humankind, the blood is the blood.
Yes.
And the blood is life. Remove the blood, there's no life.
Yeah.
God is in the blood.
Yes.
God is the blood. Christ is the blood.
Yeah.
And that connects all of us. That's the union that connects
Amen.
all of us as humankind. So stop focusing on the negativities of the differences. Stop magnifying that stuff. Focus on the uniqueness and the likeness and the similarities that we all have.
Yes.
And then you can make it a better and greater world.
Man, amen. Hey, you gave me some gifts, my friend. You gave me these cool sticks. Tell me a little bit about these sticks right here. They got two sides to them.
They're very unique. They call it, that's my Sweet Bee sticks. I designed those sticks when I was with a company named ProMark, the top company in the stick industry. And I designed them back in the late 80s and didn't show them to that company until like 94. I was on Janet Jackson tour. I toured with Janet Jackson 2 years too.
Okay.
So on that tour, we had a convention, and they had a convention in Nashville. I took them to my company there, and they made them for me. 95, they introduced them. That was ProMark sticks, Jonathan Moffett model, 722 model. And then they sold the company to another company. And then I took over my design, and my wife convinced me. And once again, the blessing of my life, she convinced me, because I couldn't get them from my company. It didn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
That makes them. She said, make your own. Let's make our own sticks. I said, I can't make no sticks. I'm not a stick maker. And she said, no, we can do it. We can find a company that makes them. It's your design anyway. You know, so we patented, and in those 2021, we started manufacturing my sticks. This is a brand new model I just got back 2 days ago from China, doing a show honoring Michael over there.
Yeah.
With a impersonator artist, Rodrigo Teaser, amazing artist. And for the Chinese audience, Michael never got to go to China. Okay. So they had never seen me live. They wanted me to be there, and they sent for me to headline this show.
Yeah.
And it's Michael Lives Forever. And it's a copy or reinvention or re-envisionment of Michael's history tour, which I did, which wound up being actually his last tour. That was 96, 97, because This Is It didn't go. Right. It was just rehearsal. So the greatest tour, the last tour you can see of Michael live, actual tour, is the history tour, 96, 97. So they recreated this show, in its entirety. And I was over there for 10 days to do that show. And be at the Chinese premiere of the movie Michael. So, and there was also
cool.
Jennifer Batten, Michael's guitarist that plays on Beat It, and Kevin Dorsey's the co-music director for Michael and background singer. So we all three of us over there representing Michael's
That's cool.
camp and
Yeah.
stuff, and
That's way
we had a
cool.
great time. Only got back I'm still jet
I
lagged.
was just gonna say you got to be still jet lagged big time.
I promise you, I am.
Yeah, I'm sure. I can't believe you're a diehard. You also gave me this. This is cool. I want to show everybody. This is really cool. This is
That's my majestic jewelry drum key I designed, and once again I started manufacturing that in 2021. My wife and I, and it's to be worn as jewelry. I want to upscale drummers. Sometimes people don't give drummers respect, and I want to do something nice and have a Rolls Royce type quality drum key that you can wear around your neck as jewelry.
come on, man.
So I made it. I didn't get on touching it too much. Yeah, it's beautiful.
And for those that don't know what a drum key is, it's like a little wrench, so you can tighten up and loosen up like
Tune your drum.
You
You
tune
can
your drums, your
yes.
toms,
Yes,
snare drums.
snare drums, yeah, bass drums. Are
These gonna make me be a better drummer?
I can't promise you that, but
come on.
practice makes you a better drummer.
It'll
help?
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna look cool. That's all. This is 2B. Is this
That's my size.
That's your weight.
But we make all sizes.
Okay,
yeah.
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Where do people get these? Can they get
On
them?
the Moffett store, my site online. My wife and I sell it. She manages all that and all my social media. She manages, but they sold that and the key on the Moffett store online. Yeah,
That's cool, man.
yeah. Now this is the thing I
Jonathan
didn't
Moffett.
mention. I started drumming at 6, but I started drawing at 4. I used to draw the Marvel comics. I could have worked for Marvel.
Yeah.
So I designed these. I draw them all out, the sticks and the keys, all sizes and stuff. So that's my artwork. I design clothes and everything. Things I manufacture clothes to people. Yeah, and so I'm an artist behind, but alongside my music. So I still bring both gifts from God.
Yeah.
They're both gifts from God.
Yeah.
You
Amen.
You can't deny that. I can't deny it.
Amen. If you could leave the listeners, the viewers with just maybe one thought, one life, thought, that if you could say, hey, here's a key, here's a nugget to life, here's the one thing that I would say matters for your life, what would it be?
To focus on the light inside of you, the illumination. It's called the Spirit, but it's the source of God, and it is the direction and the purpose of your life when you feel the energy of the light, positive light. And then you allow it to illuminate you and within you, but you learn how to self-illuminate it yourself by the spirituality. Spirituality is everything.
Yeah.
And use that spirituality, because that's spirituality and positivity is actually your connection, your conversation with God. That's why I always look as a little boy thinking about it as I'm analyzing it, my eyes looking, focusing, trying to get an analyzation from the Spirit right now as we're speaking.
Yes.
I always knew the light was there. I always knew the light was on from a little kid. My mother always said, you're different. You're always, like Michael's mother said in the movie to him, I told you our lives were parallel.
Yeah.
My mother used to say, you were always different. You're always quiet in front of the corner or in the closet playing with your little men, but you always had your own world. And that was the seasoning my focus on the illumination of the internal.
Yeah.
I didn't need nobody else to play with, because I felt I felt the power of the Spirit of something lurking in me that was guiding me to the right path in life, and to take care of the soul, because the soul is everything.
Yeah.
And the soul is God. It's like a grain of sand. Everybody's soul is a grain of sand of God. And they say God is everywhere. God is great. He's everywhere where we are. You are. Everybody in this room. God is everywhere. Our souls are.
Yeah.
We are that, and the souls are the light, and they're the connection, spirit, and umbilical cords to heaven and God. And if you pay attention to that, don't let the distractions of life on this plane of existence and the world distract you too much.
Yeah.
You'll feel the sense of power that God has anointed each one of us with, of control and self-control, of self-destiny and self-motivation. You don't really need nobody, a motivation coach, pay him all that money. You got to learn how to motivate yourself. Everything you need within everybody's everything they need within oneself, if you know how to pay attention. The lessons are there.
Yeah.
The light is on, is illuminating, guiding you to the path, but you get distracted by the things in life that take you off path. And if you allow it to, and if you don't keep your focus, you drift and wind up in bad places, bad ways. And that's how people get off course and let things happen to you. But if you stay pinpoint on the course of living in the light that's within you, you know it's there, have the knowing it's there.
Yeah.
And you focus on the positive things in life and positive things in people and other people, and steer away from the negatives. And you plot your course when you find that your destiny is something you love to do. That's what you're supposed to be doing. That's what you're assigned to do.
Yes.
Something you love to do and you find that you're good at, that's what you need to apply yourself to. You got to listen to the soul, because the soul is who you are. The soul is the direction you got to follow and take. And that's what I did to get to where I'm at all my life. Since a little boy, my mother said, you're different.
Yeah.
Your quietness speaks of something internal, that you're something is speaking to, someone speaking to you inside.
Yeah.
And I always knew it was there. And I had peace within me to live in that my own realm, play with my own men, my own stories and stuff like that. And be around older people, because you learn from older people. Ones older than yourself that have been through all the things you're going to experience if you're young in your life. There's older people like myself. The shortcuts to life that the younger people can learn to avoid.
It's great.
We learn from our mistakes if you pay attention to their lives and the things you hear about and that older people's experiences, and you learn what things to do, what things not to do. You have a better life. But don't discard older people as the enemy, or think of them as the enemy, or you don't want to be like a lot of them. You want to be like, and because they have the path and the methods that steer you away from a lot of issues and problems in your life.
Yeah.
Learn from them. Keep them around. I used to eavesdrop on my mother and her friends around the corner, around the wall, and listen to their stories and let them play with my little man and stuff. And she says, that boy around that corner. A friend would say, wait a minute, shh. Go see if that boy's around that corner. And she goes, boy, what you doing there? But I was like to absorb knowledge, wisdom. I know from old. I always felt that, gravitated, listening to older people. Yeah. And it wised me up way beyond my years by doing so. You know, so the light is on in you.
Amen.
Follow it.
I love that. And if anybody's, you're curious about that light, I think what Jonathan is saying is so perfect. Jesus said in the book of John, chapter 8, verse 12, he said, I am the light of the world. He said, whoever follows me will never walk in darkness. And then Jesus said in the very first sermon that he ever preached, it was in Matthew 5, he called us the light. He said, you are the light. And he called us to let our light shine, and let it shine, man. Let it shine. And so maybe today you feel like life, maybe it feels dark. Maybe it feels like, man, you don't know the light. God is the light. Jesus is the light. And so if you want to experience that light, I'm going to pray with you in just a minute to receive that light. But before I do that, Jonathan, Sugarfoot, man, thank you for spending time with me, with us. It has been a real privilege. You are a legend, man. I'm proud to know you. I'm proud of you. I just want to say this final thing, that you are special. You are unique. You are, as Scripture talks about in Psalm 139, that He has fearfully and wonderfully made each and every one of us. The Bible says that before we were even formed, in our mother's womb, like that God knew us. He had a plan for us, and that is evident in your life. And so thank you for sharing it, because I think it's evident in all of our lives that God has a plan for you. God has a purpose for you. There's so many nuggets that you gave us today that are going to be sound bites that even about, our older generation, wisdom. That's wisdom.
Yes.
I like what you said, the shortcut. There's a shortcut,
Yes,
there's like there's a hack.
That's right.
And if we will listen to wisdom, Proverbs says that wisdom cries out in the streets. There's not a lack of wisdom. There's a lack of us recognizing, and tuning into wisdom. And so, brother, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I've enjoyed myself here.
Is there anything else you want to say before I pray? Anything we missed?
Focus on the love of the world. That's what brings together.
Amen.
Hate is a separation of mankind, and we're all here for each other. And if we grow together, we learn together, and peace and bring peace into the world, it will be a better and more safe world. So we have to focus on the love. Love starts everything if you focus on it.
Amen. And again, 1 John says that God is love.
That's right.
God is love. Okay, before I pray, I got to say, can you moonwalk?
No. I'll knock all of this stuff over in the room. Trying to move on.
All right. Well, that makes two of us. I can barely walk. Like, let alone moonwalk. My son's got a little dance game.
Wow.
He can get down a little bit.
All right. He can break out a little bit.
Yeah. He's in the studio right now.
I
don't know if you put him on the spot. Now we won't put him on the spot. But man, thank you. I love you.
I love you, too.
Appreciate you. Let's pray. Lord, we just thank you for this great day. Thank you for Sugarfoot. Lord, thank you for his life, his calling. Lord, for sharing his life with us, that we can learn and glean so much from it and also be inspired. And all the different elements of inspiration, from our walk with you, Jesus, our spiritual lives, to the commitment, to the things that we're committed to being gifted and taking that gift and stewarding it well. And you gave us these gifts, God, but we have the responsibility of maximizing those gifts. And so, Lord, we thank you for this man's life. I thank you for his marriage. I thank you that they're a part of our lives and also Impact Church. And I just pray many blessings in the days ahead, in the months and the years ahead on his life. And listen, if you're listening today, maybe you don't know Jesus as your Lord and Savior. Maybe you've never experienced the light of God in your own life today. And so I would just like to pray for you, but also for you to pray yourself. The Bible says in the book of Romans, chapter 10, verse 9, it says, if you believe in your heart and confess with your mouth, it says, if you confess with your mouth and believe in your heart that Jesus is Lord, then you will be saved. And we've prayed and asked Jesus to be our Lord, to be the light of our life. And so maybe today, maybe that's you. And if that's you, I just want you to pray and just say, Jesus, today I recognize you as my Lord, as my master, as the light of the world, as the light of my life. And so, God, that you would fill us, fill our spirits, fill our souls. You become the light within us. Lord, that we no longer live in the darkness. We no longer live or walk in darkness, but we walk by the light. And Lord, we thank you for your love. We thank you for scripture that says you literally are love, the definition of love, that love lays down their life for those that they love. And that's what you did for us at the cross. And so, God, we're so grateful. We love you today. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Hey, listen,
Amen.
Thank you guys for joining us today with Sugarfoot. And if you don't yet, follow him on socials. He's got lots of different platforms. You can check him out on Instagram, on YouTube, and you can maybe, for those that want to learn to drum, you can check this guy out and you can emulate what he does. But yeah, man, thank you so much. I'm glad that you came. I feel like I'm a better man just because of these last couple hours. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor to be here with you and to be one of your members of the church. I found a place for when I came here, I didn't know where I was going to be. But Chris invited me, and I'm so glad he did.
Yeah.
We became friends, and I'm enjoying every Sunday I'm there.
Yeah. Tell me the truth. Does he got game? I mean,
he got serious game. He's a great drummer. Great drummer. I really. That's when you mentioned about me taking over. I said, no, this guy's really good.
I mentioned that to you in front of him.
In front of him,
because I got trash talk. I got trash talk a little bit. You know,
said, whoa, that's kind of rough there. Sorry, Chris. And I don't want to take away from his shine.
I would never do that. He is our guy, and he is so anointed and such a sweet guy. But yeah, man, thank you. Love you, man.
Love you too.
I'll see you at church Sunday.
That's right.
All right. God bless. Thank you.